This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by They aren't getting as much media coverage anymore, but marijuana smokeouts continue in Keene, New Hampshire's Central Square.
Other people just got arrested for trespassing because a place that's normally public.
It's now October 29th, almost 2 weeks after 3 civilly disobedient pot smokers went to jail for smoking at Pumpkin Fest. In that time, there have actually been a lot of developments. Protests of the same stripe briefly spread to Derry, and according to Manchester Liberty activist Jeremy Olson, a state rep mentioned the protest on the House floor in late October. He says the mention was positive. The rep said these demonstrations show marijuana laws are unenforceable. The House overwhelmingly agreed with at least part of this argument and voted in favor of medical marijuana. Overwhelmingly. Unfortunately, things went the other way in the Senate, where our side failed by a margin of 2. Whether it had a positive or negative effect on politicians, the civil dis in Keene apparently has been turning off readers at unionleader.com. Once relatively supportive, the comment section has lately been running about 3-to-1 against the demonstrators. Of course, if they're talking about you, you're probably winning. Speaking of winning, I think the Keene demonstrators win if they can keep this up until December 1st. And preferably through the winter. Now, I don't think that was a good idea, but leaders of the celebrations were quoted as saying they planned to do it all the way through the winter, so they're probably stuck with it. Over in Manchester, organizers, I think, are planning to shut down the demonstrations for the winter, or they've already done so. This seems appropriate to continue it in Keene, where the cops have misbehaved, but to wind it down in Manchester, where they ignored us. Where cops ignore, we go away. Where they attack, we got to stay. Speaking of staying, a Keene cop quoted in the mainstream press had something revealing to say. He lists a reason KPD did not arrest any of the demonstrators who stayed in the police lobby smoking this fall, smoking marijuana. He says they were too short-staffed to make an arrest. That, coupled with the fact that they used outside help for the Pumpkin Fest arrests, is significant. It indicates their infrastructure may not be holding up as well as ours to the stress of incarcerations. Remember, the libertarians are volunteers, strengthened by every crackdown. The government forces are hired guns. In that respect, it's like the Cuban Revolution against Batista. Recent coverage of the demonstrations on New Hampshire Public Radio included encouraging paraphrases from a pro-government activist. The activist complained that socialized medicinists had been on the Keene Square every week and couldn't get any coverage, while the marijuana protesters were getting covered heavily. Lastly, one of the Keene liberty activists gets his chance to place freedom before the voters on Tuesday. I believe that means Tuesday, November 3rd. Nick Ryder, a videographer and Keene native, runs for city council that day. He also says, at least as of a couple weeks ago, he'd not put much effort into the race. But Keene is nearly a one-party state where many races are uncontested. Win or lose, Ryder will at least win a victory for choice.